So today on Tom's Tech Show, we are taking AWS CloudWatch data and creating a graph and emailing it. See how that works. Okay, well, today I know that AWS has a system called CloudWatch, and it allows you to graph and see data from your instances and be able to see trends and create alerts and things like that. So CloudWatch, in order to see that data, you must be logged in as an AWS user. Well, to do that, you have to give view access to all of the resources that that user is going to be viewing. You can't just have view access to the graph. You actually have view access to the actual instances, which means you can go view all the instances and see what's going on. Well, I don't want people moving around and doing different things in AWS. No, you don't need to log in. The less people log into the AWS account, the better. But I still need people to be able to see the data. Okay. So we have programming in PowerShell to do this. Okay. So first we have to start with connecting to Amazon. We do this in the same way we do with most PowerShell. We use an AWS key and an AWS secret that allows us to connect as that user that's set up to connect, and then we need to set a region that we're going to be working in, and then we need an instance ID for the data that we're going to be bringing back, and that's all these variables up here in the top in one place. I put them there for easy for me to get to. Okay, so then I use those credentials, set AWS credential and set AWS default region there. Then we need to create an Amazon CloudWatch model dimension. It's just basically a name and a value. So instance ID is being set to the instance ID. Makes sense. Okay. So once we have that dimension object set up, then we can use that later when we get the data. Okay. So now we're going to do something which is set a date range that's needed for the data. We're going to be using an 8-hour date range. So we do now is just get date for now, and then, which was add -8, so that's 8 hours ago. So we have now back to 8 hours ago that we're going to get data. Okay, so here we use the command get CW metric statistics, and our namespace, since these statistics are going to be general AWS EC2 instances, this could be CloudWatch agent data. Those are the two different types of data. And for the period, we're going to do it every 60 minutes. So every hour we're going to get data. The metric name we're getting at is CPU utilization. So we need that metric for CPU utilization to have been created in AWS already. So this is not getting data that you haven't already created the metric for. So you need to have that metric already created. Okay, so then we're going to go do our start time and our end time. The statistic that we want is maximum. What's the maximum CPU value? And then, of course, the dimension is the object or instance that we're going to be getting data from. So I have some data from that. So if I look here, it comes over as this data variable. Here, right, we set all that to data, but then the data actually breaks down into specific data points. So the first data point is here, which gives all I'm pulling back is the maximum value. I could have specified more, but I'm getting the maximum value and I need my timestamp. So each one of these is going to have the maximum value and the timestamp, and that's the data that I want, so that I'm going to graph. Okay. Now we hit the graphing area of the script, which is we're pulling in the Windows System Forms data visualization object. So that allows us to create a chart. So creates this new object of a chart, Windows System Forms data visualization charting chart. I know they just repeat themselves over and over again. System, Windows Forms, Data Visualization, Charting, Chart Area. So we have the chart and we have the chart area. We're going to be calling this CPU load. So our chart area y-axis is called CPU load, and the y-axis minimum is 0, of course, and the maximum is 100 because it's a percentage. So we're going to want to see, you can do it without adding those, but then it's just the line and you get no perspective for how close you are to maximum. So you want these charts as they come over each time in email to be the same. If the charts were going up, like sometimes it was 5% CPU, sometimes they were 80% CPU, the chart might actually look the same because it's like, oh, it's just here near the top all the time. So we need to be able to set those limits. So maximum is 100. And then we do some other things like, the chart width and left and top borders, things like that. Then we add our chart area to our chart, and we add our legend. Okay, so now we get down here to our chart series. So the series that we want to add is CPU, right? We can name it whatever we want, but we're calling it CPU. So then this is the object we add. Here's System, Windows Forms, Data Visualization, Charting, Series Chart Type, which is going to be a line chart. So, and I'm setting the value for the width of that line to be 3. Okay, now here's where the meat comes in, getting the data onto the chart. So remember, now we have our data points here that looks like this. So data.datapoints looks like that. And we can take and make a for loop for each item in data.datapoints. So that's going to be, we're going to cycle through all of these data points. So we're going to set this variable q equal to item timestamp. So in here in our data points, here there's timestamp, right? So now we've broken down. So now we've got the timestamp here, and we've set that to q. And then our chart series CPU, we're going to add XY values of the q, which is our timestamp, and the item maximum. So we're adding this maximum value here to our graph. So we're going to go loop through all of our data and put that into our chart series. Once that is done, then we set a file name for the chart where we want to put it. And then we do call chart, save image, the file name as a PNG image. So that puts that out so that we can read it. So now that's the charting area that's done. So we've gone to AWS, gotten the data. We've come to our chart forms and actually created the chart and saved it to a file. Now we generated email and placed that chart in the email. Okay, so we have our email from, our email to, but then we need to do an attachment. So we're taking this chart and putting it on as an attachment. So attachment is new object, net mail attachment, and we give it the file name that we just used up here in the step before. So then we do some other things like, can it be inline? The disposition type is inline. It's a media type of image, and then we have to give it a name of some type, a content ID for being put onto our email. Okay, so then the body of our message, which is the next part, is just we give it, since it's going to be an HTML email, we give it the HTML tags, head, and then body. And then in here we put image, source, then the content ID, the CID : chart JPEG. Even though the file name may be something else, up here in our attachment we gave it the content ID of chart. So that's what we need to use in our mail body here. Okay. So our email subject is CPU graph. We created an SMTP message with the system object, system net mail message with our email from, email to, subject, and body. So we have all that together. So now we've taken all the email message, put it into a one chunk. Then we need to say SMTP message is body HTML. We're saying that's true because we want it to display in our email. So, and then we have to add the attachment. So even though we've created the attachment and we have the HTML with the attachment, we still need to tell the message that there's an attachment and attach that attachment. You know how Google sometimes, when you say, I've sent this attachment, you go to click send, and it says, you said you wanted an attachment and you didn't put anyone in. Well, we have to do that as well. Okay, so now my SMTP server, I'm using Office 365 to send this. You can use your whatever SMTP server you need to use. We set our client, since it's a secure server, so we have to set the port to 587 and set enable SSL to equal to true. And then we need our credentials to log in to be able to send the message. Then at the end, finally, we hit the send button and it sends the message. Okay, so we've had 3 different sections here. So we have the AWS specific PowerShell goes and connects to AWS and goes and gets our data. Then we have this next section, which is let's take that data and put it into a chart. Okay, so once we get the chart, then the next section is let's take that chart, create an email message that's HTML, place that chart in there, and then send it off. Okay, so what does that do for me once I get my email? Well, I get this. So I have a chart that comes to me in email with my CPU and what it's doing. So this, we're getting high. I could have this send, you know, every if I want to do it every 8 hours, or if I want to do it every hour to be able to email me something. Or what you can also do is set these scripts up. So instead of down here doing the email to send the message, what I can do is I can create a web page that has all of these charts on it, so that I can create a dashboard for people to look at, maybe on an intranet, so it's not out in the public. Or if you want it to be, you don't care if it's in the public, you can put it on the public with a simple sign-on kind of, you know, put it behind a Google wall or something, so that people can easily log in, or just enter a simple password to be able to get to the graphs and see what it is. But then they would not have complete access to see all the other AWS resources that you have, and, you know, dig around and play around in that. So this is the way that I'm using to be able to get data out of AWS, put it somewhere else, or email it somewhere, so that it can be really, I like the email thing because that's like, you know, it just comes to you in the email, and it's like, you can look at it, it's like, okay, and then either delete it or file it or whatever, so you're not, it comes to you, which is better than me. I have to go to look at something. It's just automatically there in front of your face, which I like better than other things. So anyway, all right. Well, that is the method that I'm using to get this data and distribute this data. It's working pretty well right now for me. So if I have any of the problems or any issues, or maybe expand it, then I can add more data and update my scripts. I do put all of these scripts in Bitbucket, so this will be in the AWS code Bitbucket. Since it's kind of AWS and general both, but it still has to do with AWS data, so I'll put it in that one. So if you want to use that and take that and do, you know, add your own touches to it and different things, you do have to, when you run this, you have to run it as a scheduled task, because it has to run once then exit, because it doesn't release the image the next time it comes through. So if I run this script once and then it writes the image and I run the script again without exiting PowerShell, it gets stuck and doesn't release the image. So it'll error on the image. So you need to put it into Task Scheduler and just let it run, and exit PowerShell every time, which is what I do. So, all right. Well, this is one of my highly technical episodes, so thanks for watching this one. And if you have any questions or comments, or you have a different way of doing this, then you'll let other people know. And thanks for watching this one. Take care.